97.9 The Box is the Mad Hatter Morning Show. It is an honor and a privilege to be sitting next to Nikki Gamble, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how to. What's so funny?
Nothing. Just go ahead.
Everyone is on eggshells here.
What?
We're ready for Jazz to ask her question. No, here's the thing. Okay, this is Rob G's wife. He is. Ironically, this is one of the few times where he has not grabbed a microphone, so I'm very excited about that.
Like, hold on. Okay, just me. Easy.
But Miss Gamble, how would we refer? Because to me, like a social media maverick right now. You know, your kids, you got them modeling, and you're a model as well, and you've turned this into. It's turned into an actual business for you. You actually quit your job and you started making social media work for you. And that's why we brought you on the show, because you're doing some big things in social media. And it's become a business for a lot of people. A lot of people have, YouTube and Instagram, and they've turned this into actual businesses. How did this start? How did you happen upon it? And then like I said before, I had always told Rob, like, man, your kids look like models. They're beautiful. And then Rob D, one day he came in here like, oh, they are modeling. Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me, fancy one. But it's really happening. So how did this start for you?
Okay, so my background is retail, retail management. So I did that for a long time, and then I actually was fired from one of my jobs, and that's another story. But we decided at that point, I was actually pregnant with Olivia at the time, and we decided that
baby number two.
Baby number two, and we decided that it would be better for me to just stay at home. And staying at home with a baby, there's a lot to do, but it became like really monotonous. And being a creator and being somebody who is, I need to see things. I need to see like art and outside and all that kind of stuff. And I got really bored staying at home. And I didn't know how, I knew I didn't want to go back to retail and the crazy hours of retail. So I tried to figure out something that I could do in the meantime.
So you stumbled upon this. This was not a goal initially.
Well, it wasn't a goal, but I had seen other people do it. And when I saw them, I was like, wait a minute. Some of these girls are making like 6 figures, doing this. And I'm like, I can do that. So it kind of started as a hobby and just a creative outlet for me while I was at home with Olivia. And then she went back to school. And then I actually did go back to work. And that lasted for about 8 months, because in that 8 months, I started to actually get paid for things that I was doing on Instagram. Like posting from different brands. My first ever paid post was actually with, can I say the name?
Sure.
With like Neutrogena and Target. That was my first paid
And what'd
post.
you do? A picture of yourself?
Yeah,
or you
I
were
did.
Drinking something? You were modeling something?
I did some like skincare stuff inside of Target. I had to go and like shoot a little bit of video content like on my phone and kind of chop it down and edit it. And I had Rob to show me how to do that. So I learned really quickly how to use an app to chop the video up and edit it. And after that, first time that I was paid to post, I realized, why am I going to work? Like, why do I have this job? And then I couldn't concentrate on my job.
Was it accidentally, though, that you found out that they would pay you for it? You did it, and they like, hey, if you do that again, we'll pay you for it? Or you went into it knowing, like, hey, if you do this, we pay you?
No, I asked around, just some people that I kind of knew, and I realized that people were getting paid.
You went to them, if I do this, you pay me. And they
I didn't say that to the brand, but I asked someone else and found out that you do get paid for it. And I honestly didn't get paid much for it. I think it might have been like $300. But
I'll take $300.
I got paid for it. And as I started to see that I could get paid and charge even more than $3, because it is work, then I realized it was time for me to quit, and trying to do both, because it is work. It's a lot of work. Once you really get deep into it, it pretty much is all consuming it every day, all day long, because you're constantly have to create the content to push out. So I decided it was time to quit my job. And actually, Rob is the one that told me to quit. So I quit. Yeah.
You go,
Good
Dad.
husband.
You go, husband. I'm not saying everybody needs to take this way, but it worked for you.
Yeah. It was in, I quit a little over a year ago in May. I forgot the exact date, but it was May. So I've pretty much only been doing this full time for a little over a year.
So how did you bring the kids? Because I've seen what really attracted my attention. I know you were doing it. Robin mentioned it, but when I seen your son, I'm like, oh wow, I forgot what it was. Was it McDonald's?
Yeah, we did a McDonald's commercial.
So again, how did do you know? Is it planned? Like, okay, I'm going for this particular client, or it happens accidentally? Like even with the kids being a part of it, was that a goal of yours? Like, hey, I know my kids look good. Let's do this, family.
No, I didn't think that. And I feel like all moms think their kids are cute. There's not a mom out there that doesn't think their kids are cute. It's really about what other people say if your kids are actually cute.
Right,
really.
right.
So of course I think my kids are cute, but then brands started to see my kids and then they were like, and the whole mommy and me thing is like a really big deal, especially for influencers of color. People like to see the moms. They also like to see dads too, but they really like to see Black and brown moms with their kids. And so once I posted my kids one time, I mean, the brands just started asking for my kids more. They're about to go to work this week too.
You said it like that was mandatory to be a part of the household.
Yeah, it is. They gotta work. Yeah, they're gonna work too.
Now I noticed that daddy don't work as much as the children. Is there a reason behind this?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. One, I don't know that Rob really likes to take pictures like I do. You know, like I don't know. Two, when I started out, one of the things I've always been known as, y'all know me as that too, but I've always been known for the past 15 years as Rob's wife. And I didn't want to be, I mean, that's just the honest answer. I didn't want anybody to see me as Rob's wife.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to walk in and somebody say my name, say Nikki, and everybody knows who they're talking about without having to be connected
Sorry,
to
Robbie.
him.
It's a cool name, but
Yeah.
I see him as Nikki's husband. So.
Oh, that's Nikki's husband. We call him Nikki's husband up here.
You know what? And that's what it's transitioning to, and I'm
Yeah.
fine with it.
okay, all right. Play your position,
Yeah.
daddy.
that was the reason when I first started. I just didn't want to feel like anybody would think that I was like clout chasing because he's Rob and he's established a name here, you know, in the city of Houston for himself. I just wanted to be my own person, and that's it. So.
And I think you've been successful with that. So what's the goal now for the conglomerate, that being you, the kids? You continue to do this, and what?
Well, you always have to have an end goal.
Right.
And as I continue to build and branch out and continue to create a brand, I have some long-term goals that involve several things. My kids, they don't have to do what I do.
Right.
I mean, right now it's helpful for them to participate. You see them, but I don't even post them really as much as some other influencers or bloggers, whatever, post their kids. I try not to. If it's a legit brand, like a real legitimate brand, then like we have some coming up next week that are like big brands.
Right.
That could possibly even hire my kids on for something else even larger than what we're getting ready to do. That's different. But this is my job.
Right.
It's not necessarily their job. It's my job. So, yeah, I want to branch out. They can do whatever they want to. I also, in the start of this, talking about influencers of color and that kind of thing, we, myself and 3 of my friends started another Instagram and another business on the side called Influencing in Color, because we saw a space where, in the influencer industry, where there was a huge gap where brands were not hiring women of color for these large campaigns. You weren't seeing our faces. We went to Fashion Week last year, I think, it was last year. And we went to a few events and we were literally the only women of color in the event.
So it was an influencers event?
Yeah, at Fashion Week, they'll have like brands. You know, brands will have these huge parties in
no
New
women of
York.
color.
No, it was just us. And we weren't even actually invited. We reached out to the brands to ask if we could come. So we weren't even invited to this. And when we saw that, we decided to form another, I guess, group or another page or another business called Influencing in Color. And now we have secured a, I guess, long-term deal with a major brand to do their all their digital marketing and video content for fall and holiday.
What advice would you give for the person that's listening to you right now? There's a lot of people like, what can we do to take advantage of this social medium that we have? We have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, you got Facebook even. This leap of faith that you took, how would you go to somebody? Because there's other people that want to take the leap of faith. Others, they might actually say, hey, you could do this because your husband is Rob, and so, when a bill needs to be paid, he's there. But there are still those that want to take this leap of faith. How do you do that? What's the first step that you would suggest that they take?
Start. That's the best thing I could say. That's the advice I was given again by Rob, is that you just have to start. No matter, whether
I wish he would use some of this advice on this show. He sounds like one of the smartest guys we know, but he made 3 mistakes today. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, you have to start. I vacillated between, should I not for probably, I don't know, maybe a year or so before doing anything. And I could have been doing it a year ago. But if you just start where you are with what you have, it generally, if you're really passionate about it, if you have a goal, it generally takes off by itself. That's what happened to me. It just kind of took off.
Would you guys ever do a reality show, like the whole family?
I mean, I would, but Rob has said he wouldn't.
What the heck,
But
Rob?
I would.
For the bag.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. You're going to get a bag.
Why did you just say that?
I mean, it also opens up a lot of other doors. Like if you already have like a business goal or whatever, I mean, it's money, but it also makes you visible to a completely different group of people. So I would.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not in the market of teaching people these skills at this point. You're still developing your own skills to get to the next level that you want to reach.
Well, I teach too. I've had an event and, stuff like that where people come and we sit down and we talk about it. People direct message me all the time and ask me questions. I don't mind teaching and giving the information.
'Cause there may be a class in that. People want to learn,
What's the most common question that you get a lot in DMs?
The question I get most is, who takes your pictures? How do you get your images like that?
What do you use? What apps do you use?
I don't use an app. I use a photographer.
They edit all the pics for you?
He edits the pictures. Some of the images I edit myself with apps. The best app is going to be Lightroom, and that's what most photographers are going to use once you get your preset. And he created a preset for me, and then he edits with that preset, and then I may go back in and tweak it here or there, something like that. But if I take it with my iPhone, then I go back in and edit it in Lightroom, and then I post it.
Got you.
Yeah.
I just think it's pretty interesting that, I call it the leap of faith. There's something that you want to do and you say to yourself, I'm going to just do it. And it starts to actually work for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. That's the hard part. Most people have a hard time, like you said before, starting and taking the leap of faith because we become our 9-to-5 zombies because it's secure. And what you're doing is no guarantees and not secure. But if it works out,
then it's good. Well, the example that I gave one of my friends who's wanting to quit her job next year was like, how, I don't even know if kids do this anymore, but how like back in the day when we used to play outside on a swing set and you would gain all this momentum before you decided to jump off the swing, but you went as high as you thought you could go and you gained as much momentum as you think you needed to jump, and you picked a certain swing to jump on. You knew when you were ready on that swing, and usually if your timing was right, when you jump, you land on your feet. And to me, like the same thing applies to this. You have to do it when you're ready. And I'm not telling everybody to quit their job. Quitting your job is not right for everybody. But for me, because I have a dual income household, I was able to do that. But you just have to start with what you have. I mean, you can take pictures on the iPhone these days, and like I said, edit it in Lightroom and you're good. A lot of these influencers out here, that's what they do anyway. Right. Or save a little money and buy yourself an actual camera. At this day and time, you can get a professional camera for, I don't know, $500.
Whoops.
I'm
out.
I'm just saying, you can.
No, but I got you.
You can do that. So save and do that, and just start where you are.
Where can they follow you at, Nick, and the whole family?
Okay, so you can follow me at New Texacali. That's NEWTEXACALI. And you can also follow the group page at Influencing in Color.
That's it?
Yeah, and my blog is also New Texacali. My Twitter, my Facebook, all of that everything's the same. And y'all already know where to find Rob. If you're talking about the whole family, my kids do not have social media, so.
Unfortunately, we do know where to find Rob. And that was the downfall of this interview.
Oh, my God.
He only grabbed the mic one time, so let's give it up for Rob G for that. No, Miss Nikki Gamble, thank you so much. I think what you're doing is really, really cool.
Thank you.
And a lot of people, I hope they get the opportunity. They hear these kind of things and like, you know what? I can do this. I got to believe in myself.
Yeah, got to.
And there are people out there that's actually doing it and making it happen.
That's right.
So there it is right there. Thank you so much, Mrs. Gamble.
Thanks.